Hello and welcome to another episode or another podcast from The Voice from the Desert. This is Ariel, and we're going to do a little deviation, if you will, of what we've been talking about lately. We've been talking about perseverance. This kind of has to do with it, but this goes into a very direct way. I've been conflicting within myself to see if I should talk about this, but I feel pushed to talk about this. So, without further ado, we're going to be reading from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 to 6, and I'm reading from the CSB. Therefore, be imitators of God as dearly loved children, and walk in love as Christ also loved us and gave himself for us, a sacrificial and fragrant offering to God. But sexual immorality and any impurity or greed should not be even be heard among you, as is proper for saints. Obscene and foolish talking and crude joking are not suitable, but rather giving thanks. For know and recognize this: every sexual immoral or impure or greedy person who is an idolater does not have an inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Well, that's a little tough to swallow. I mean, this generation pretty much. And let me do a little clarification here. This is not talking to unbelievers. This is not talking to people who are not in the crowd of who are outside the Christian circle. This is talking to Christians. This is Paul talking to Christians. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of stuff was going on in Ephesus that Paul had to make this correction? It makes you think. It really makes you think. So with this, what we're going to is that it starts off here with that we have to be imitators of God as dearly loved children. What do you mean, imitators of God? Well, we have to be holy. And this is where I feel God is pulling the whole thing. Believers are called to be set apart. That's another definition of being holy, being different. We should be looking different from what the outside is. Nowadays, there isn't much of the difference between a believer and a non-believer. You look at a believer and you look at a non-believer, you practically say, I mean, what's the difference? One goes to church, because let's face it, all the things we had just read, either we've done it, are doing it, stopped doing it, but have done it. Sexual immorality. What's sexual immorality? Well, anything that is having coitus before marriage and all that it entails, all that it involves. That's a very blanket statement right there. And encompasses a whole plethora of things. Now, I'm not going to start preaching here to the virtues of having sex after marriage and all that. I'm just saying Christians, believers, and I'm pointing or placing a mirror in my face in this one because I am not exempt of this issue. Obviously, this is for people who are continuing in that sin. Like there will be a time that you might have quit. God bless you if you did. You're not doing that anymore. But there is a time and a season that probably people are falling to that. Let's just call a name and say by its name. Is abundant. Or the P word, let's say, because they might get striked off if you see this on YouTube or something. The P word. Sexual sin is a perversion in the sense that it sets you into dirtiness. And I'm talking this more in the Christian sense, in the Christian side of things, because the secular world doesn't really care about this kind of stuff. It's not that big of a deal. But for Christians, it's like a dirty little secret. You have to keep it underground, keep it on the down low, keep it low because you don't want people to think that you are this or that. The truth of the matter is, if you have a dark sin covering that you're just walking in it and not confessing it out loud, you're going to allow that thing to grab a hold of you forever. You're going to allow it to keep you maintained. And one of the things about perseverance, how can you persevere if you are shackled to the ground with a chain that is unbreakable and you can't move? I mean, how can you persevere? How can you move forward? How can you continue in life when there are things in you that are just hidden and you keep it on the down low, you keep it underground, and these are not sins that you're not aware of. I'm talking about the stuff you are aware of. I'm talking about stuff that you are completely 100% aware that you have done or doing, and you don't want to let go. I'm speaking from personal experience here. I'm not aiming my finger at anybody and trying to be like I'm holier than thou. I am not. I'm not unscathed on this thing. I've been through it. And that pee thing was a bondage that kept me tied up. But I can honestly, before God and man, confess right now that I'm delivered. Not because I'm a super saint or because it's because I decided to shift the focus on something outside of myself. Because if I just kept the focus on me, the focus in me would have been just like, it is what it is. I can't do it because I'm just weak. But I focused outside of myself, and I'm putting myself on Front Street because I don't want to present myself as a finished product or to be the end all be all kind of guy that knows it all, it is all. I want to present myself as is and manifest God's grace and transforming power that if he can do this on little old me, he can do it on anybody. And we're calling a spade a spade. We're not sugarcoating anything here. Christianity is rough. Christianity is not for the weak at heart. It's denying yourself, taking up your cross daily and following him. And that implies looking at the dirty stuff, the stuff we don't want to talk about, the things that we want to cover up because it's ugly, it's nasty. We don't want to talk about this stuff. We want to make the appearance of holiness. We're done with the games. We're done with the playing pretend. This day and age, nowadays, what we're noticing is that playtime is over. Playing pretend is over. Playing the part of a Christian is overrated. Playing the part of a person that is pious when in reality you're not, it's over. Those days are over. God is calling his people to holiness. We have to partake in this. And perseverance implies that you have to move away from the shadow that you once lived in, that sin. You have to call it by its name. You have to address it and say, I have this problem. I have this issue. You have to call it by your name, by its name, and say, I have this issue. Lord, help me. We got to be like that man that presented his kid that was being tormented by demons. And he said, do you believe I can do this? And the man said, yes, I believe, but help my unbelief. The problem may not be that we don't trust God, that we don't trust that God can do it. We have failed so many times that we have that little ugliness inside of us that was like, well, why am I going to open up to this? I'm just going to fail again. I'm just going to do it again. And it's not necessarily the P word. It could be any sin. But in this time, I don't know why I'm being led by talking about this kind of stuff. We have to be open. We have to be honest. We have to be sincere. We have to open up and not hide under the pretend. Now, I'm not here to show myself and showcase like the virtue of the most complete Christian. I'm disqualified from day one. What I am doing is recognizing my shortcomings and recognizing that there's something bigger than me, that there's something more bigger than I am. And I've decided to lean on that. I'm not depending on my own strength. And I said this in one of the podcasts, and I'll say it again. So God is like a crutch. He's more than that. Like when you truly like remove all the BS, and I'm sorry, you probably get what the BS is. When you remove all that garbage out of the way and you go into what the real matter is, you have to make a choice. And there's where perseverance comes in, because choice without commitment is just dead talk. So you have to go to the point that you have to make the conscious decision. What am I going to do? Am I going to stay in this, or am I going to follow through? Am I going to follow through with God? We have our instruction manual right here. We got our instruction manual. Why aren't we not following it? Why is it so hard to take some time apart and decide, you know what? I'm going to get in my word. I'm going to do what it says. And we want to read that word, but we're like, yeah, that's too hard. God is not asking us if it's hard or not. He's just asking for obedience. Like he knows we're weak. He knows we're just mush and we can go through and we can go any which direction the wind blows. But if we stand in the rock, that's the whole point there of Christianity. Standing. Submit yourself to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. The key word there is submit. The key word is submit to God. The key word is stand firm in God. Stand firm in him. And do not look at you or your shortcomings or your understanding of what the situation is. Yes, you're weak. Yes, you have problems. Yes, issues in the past have provoked this situation that which you are now engulfed in. And there's very little you can do about it. I'm trying to limit my language here because I'm trying to get this as broadly as possible. But if I get too specific, it might get removed. So I'm being vague on purpose in the sense that I hope this gets to anywhere. But the thing is this: stop looking at yourself. Stop looking at your shortcomings. Stop looking at you as the source of the person that's going to make the change. No, you only have the choice and the commitment to stand on God's word and follow through what it says to the letter. And damn be my emotions, damn be what I feel, damn be the past. I'm submitting myself to a new reality. I'm not denying that it happened, but I'm committing myself to God and ignoring that pain. Because as I said before, I'll say it again, choose your pain because it's going to hurt. To do this is going to hurt because you're going to fight every natural reflex and your very nature and everything that you're accustomed to. It's hard. It's difficult. It's a pain, but go through it. Move forward. Move seeking God. Look at God. Keep your focus on Christ. Do like Peter did when he walked on water. You can talk all you want about the disciples or Peter that, his mouth was running amok. One thing you can say is that the only dude that walked on water other than Jesus was Peter. He drowned, yeah, but he didn't let that stop him. He didn't quit. Yeah, Jesus had to pick him up. And that's the whole point. We can do the impossible if we keep our focus on him. And if we fail, let's trust him that he will pick us up. We can continue this series later on. If this is something that has ministered to you, I hope it does. God bless you all. Take care.